Welcome to the next part of this Twilight. We've had a look at the process and the why of certification. Now we're going to have a look at the how. Certification looks at three things, in my opinion. It looks at your experience. So if you're new to Catholic school, you'll do that, and that's the foundation level. And then if you have done 2 years teaching, then you can commence the classroom level, and if you've had 5 years experience, then we look at leadership level. So it looks at your experience. It also looks at your knowledge. So whatever PD you do is divided into categories, and that's theology, scripture, Catholic character, and a couple of others. So these are the areas that we encourage you to look at in your in professional development and possibly study. The third level it looks at is the skill, your skill in being in your craft. So when you go through the process of certification, somebody will come in and have a look at, observe you teaching, or if you're not an RE teacher, they'll write a comment on how you are or in the Catholic character environment. So that's how the process tends to work. Hello again. This section of the Twilight is going to be how the hours work for you. Now the bishops got together, and as you'll see in the next page, and I've asked that everybody in the school does, or all the teachers at least do, 12 hours professional development and spiritual formation every year. And as Anne said in her clip, she said you never stop needing professional development. So it doesn't matter if you've got a Master's of Theology or a Catechetical Studies or a Bachelor in Religious Education, you always need to keep doing that professional development. So the bishops have said 12 hours per year of professional development and spiritual formation. Now this takes many forms. So how it's recorded, certification helps with the professional development section of that, and the spiritual formation your school will take care of with retreat days, prayer times, and staff formation. You might have somebody come in and talk to you about the heritage of the school or the charism of the school. That's all part of spiritual formation, and at the same time can be professional development, depending on what it actually is and how it all works. So that's something for myself and your DRSs and your principals to sort out where it fits in the system. But we're going to see how the system actually works as far as the hours are concerned and your own certification record. So if you haven't got yours with you, I'll put mine on the screen. It's a bit crazy and all over the place, but you'll have something to look at. Now hopefully the DRSs will have your certification record to look at, and if somebody hasn't got it, you might feel okay to share that with them. Now they may not be 100% up to date, they may not be perfect, but they are a start, and we can, your DRSs and principals will know how to rectify any errors, and I can work with them and to sort out any issues if there are any. So let's now look more closely at how the hours work. readers again for reading that. It is a bit complicated, and well done if you've managed to take it all in. What we'll do now is we'll have a look at the certification charts themselves, and we'll work their way through them, and I'll explain what they mean and how their hours work. Now, you would have been sent these by Susan Howard at the office, so your principal or DRS would have given you a copy. So you'll notice the first thing on the first slide here is your name and the school you're at. I've just blanked out mine just for security purposes. What I've circled on this slide is the different levels. Foundation level. Now many of you won't have foundation level. That's if you've been in the system for a long time. You may not have that recorded. Don't worry about that. We know you're not new to a Catholic school, so don't worry. For those of you who have been at the Catholic schools within the last 6 years or so, you should have gone through the foundation level course, which is Teachers New to Catholic School. If you haven't done that yet, we will get to it pretty soon. Talk to your DRS or principal about arranging a time to see me and work through that. So that's for those who have been in the school just a few months or a year or so. Or everybody else in the last 6 years or so should have that foundation level, which is Teachers New to Catholic Schools. The next level there is classroom level, which you are encouraged to apply for, and that's after you've been working in the school for 2 years. And then leadership level the same, after working and being experienced teacher for 5 years. And then there's an endorsement for leadership level. Don't worry about that yet. We need to get onto that as a diocese, and we'll get there. If you'd like to do it, there is a form in the back of the certification handbook. The next level is leadership, graduate level, and that's if it used to be just a degree, but now it includes the TCI diplomas. So if you've got a diploma, you will get graduate level in that. And the other level there is catechetical studies, and many of you will have that. Not everybody, but it is recognised there. So that's what's circled there on the certificate. We'll move to the next page. This little bit here is, you'll see there's an ID number. That's just a record for the office, so we can find you easily and quickly. The other bit circled there is any degrees or diplomas that you have. They'll be recorded there. Often of note is the TCI papers also accrue hours. Sometimes if a completed degree doesn't accrue hours as such, but you do get the graduate, you apply for the graduate level certificate, so it gets recognition there. Doesn't matter how many degrees you've got or diplomas you've got, it's still the graduation level certificate. So that's all that is there. That's really quite simple, that one, I think. At the top of the page here you see the categories. That is theology, scripture, special character, RE and spirituality. There's one there, elective, that was used in the past, that's not used anymore. So some of you may have elective somewhere on past sheets. These new sheets, this set of numbers here is a carryover from other pages, and if you've got a number of pages, if you've been around a while, you probably have a number of pages, and at the top of each page you will have these hours, the accruement of the hours, or the calculation of the hours from previous pages. So that's all that is. That's the different categories and how they're divided, as we spoke earlier, or we saw in an earlier slide. So that's the categories, and the columns below are where the hours are entered. Now some of you will be familiar with this part. This you'll recognise as this is the parts where when you go to a Twilight and you sign in, the Twilight is recorded at the office and the sign-in sheets are sent to the office, and then that time recorded against your name is then transferred onto your record. This is where you initial that you were present and the number of hours are recorded that you were there. The other way that you can get information transferred onto your record is if your principal or DRS sends in information once or twice a year about the meetings you've attended. You might attend strand meetings or meetings at school to do with Catholic character or spirituality or any of the categories. These are recorded by your DRS or principal and sent in to the office. A third way that you can get information recorded on your record is if you have done something outside of either of these two systems that you believe is should be recognised as a Catholic character formation. You can send a record of that or evidence of that to me, and I will forward that then to the office. So that list there, what you've seen circled there, is the list of professional development that you have done, or you can see, well, that I have done, and you can see how these are then divided into hours. So the education convention, for example, many of you would have gone to that as principals and DRSs, and sometimes senior staff get to go to that, and you can see that those hours are divided in and recorded on my record. So you'll have things recorded on your record that you have done too. So that's what that is all about, and that's where there could be a few glitches where things have been missed by mistake or by error. But over the last 4 years, anything you've done, any of the Twilights, not last year but the previous years, you would have received a certificate, so you have evidence that you've been to that Twilight. So if it's not recorded there, you can send that evidence in, just in case, you know, errors are made sometimes, and sometimes material doesn't tend to come in that often, so there might be things that need to be sent in that haven't been sent in for a while, and that will update your record and give you more hours too. So I hope that's helpful. This is where the area of discrepancy will probably be. So take some time and have a good look at that page, and work with your DRS and principal, and we'll try and get those things sorted out if there's anything missing or anything you think should be there that isn't. So yeah, have a good look at that. As you can see, at the bottom of the page is the total of all your hours. At the bottom of each column is the total of the hours in that particular category. Now, to go for classroom level primary after 2 years service, you need to have at least 15 hours in each of the columns and a total of 100 hours. So that's 15 hours in theology, 15 hours in scripture, Catholic special character, and so on, but the total needs to be 100. So some of them will have more, but they must each have 15. So that's for classroom level. So if you've already got those hours and have done your 2 years service, it's well and truly worth applying for that and trying to get your classroom level. Now, if you've already got classroom level and you're looking at leadership level, you need a further 75 hours or 75 hours that altogether. So that's another 10 hours in each of the 5 categories. Now, all this information is available on that accreditation handbook on pages 12 and 13. So have a look at that if you're a bit confused or I haven't explained it clearly enough. So that's what the totals are, and that's where you start. So you build up those hours in the different categories, and when you get to the correct number, then you apply for your classroom level or leadership level certification. Now, for those of you who are doing TCI papers, that builds up quite quickly because they're worth, I think one paper is worth about 54 hours, and the higher ones are worth about 72. So those build up very quickly if you're doing TCI papers and diplomas. And as you see for the note, from the note on the slide, TCI hours do count, but degrees may not count. So they get just go straight to graduate level. Now, if you have a diploma or a degree, it doesn't mean that you stop doing professional development. The bishops have still asked you to do those 12 hours per year, and some of those 12 hours will definitely be able to be counted for certification hours. So I hope that all makes sense. That's the last slide. We're going to hear from Colin McLeod about the study aspect of it and how that works in certification, and then that's the end of our this part of the Twilight. I hope you've gained something from it, and keep having the discussion. And if you have any questions, talk to your DRS or principal, and they can contact me and we can sort some things out if need be. So all the best, good luck. Whoops, I forgot, there's just one more slide, and that's about if you've been working in other dioceses, you can apply to that diocese or to this Catholic Education Office, and they will get that record for you from the other diocese and attach it to your record in the Dunedin diocese. And you can see from mine and the slide there at the top, you can see the carryover Wellington Archdiocese, and then you can see the record from Wellington Archdiocese as well. So just that's how that works. So make sure you do get that from other dioceses if you've been working in another diocese, and that can be added to your record for hours. It becomes really important when you're wanting to apply for leadership or classroom level, and you know you've been in another diocese and done other things. This is how nationally we can put it all together. So now let's hear from Colin.
The idea behind certification is that it's designed to be a carrot rather than a stick. I remember when I used to get rostered on to fill in relief in chemistry, for example, year 13 chemistry, had no idea what the kids were studying but did my best to fill in. We can't have RE teachers that are feeling that way in religious education. But the way that we teach RE well is when we're confident in what it is that we're teaching, when we've done some courses, when we've actually done some processing of that thinking through doing assignments, and when we've discussed it as a staff. The hours for certification are a way of encouraging you to do that study so that you are going to be more effective in the classroom and feel happier yourselves, and certainly the young people in our schools are going to benefit. So it's not just about collecting hours, it's about engaging with the content that you need to do your job well as a teacher of religious education. And we're really, really grateful that you're doing that work. It's important money. We need to invest in upskilling ourselves so that we do the best job we can.